A key U.S. ally in the Middle East is reportedly making its own missiles with Chinese technology, a move that could complicate the regional power struggle. A sudden change of China's virus control policy sent a U.S. flight turning back in midair. The incident put some of the passengers in limbo, most of whom are Chinese. 13 million people locked down in one northern Chinese city. The move follows a pandemic surge, sparking panic buying and other forms of chaos. In an unprecedented move, a Chinese province is offering baby loans to address population problems. That means couples with multiple children can apply for as much as $31,000. And in a Christmas Eve announcement, Japan revealed it won't be sending government officials to the Beijing Olympics, but they're not calling it a boycott. Hello and welcome to today's China in Focus. I'm Evelyn, in for Tiffany this week. One of China's harshest lockdowns yet this year is going on day 5 and keeping a city of 13 million people locked away. Despite the strict measures, results appear less than satisfactory. That's as local authorities report that new virus cases there have tripled.
Local authorities in northern China are disinfecting the city of Xi'an, home to 13 million people. The task began on Sunday with workers spraying pathogen-killing solution onto roads and buildings. Residents were told to close their windows and avoid touching outdoor surfaces.
I feel like it's out of control. The whole situation is totally out of control.
Confirmed COVID-19 cases in Xi'an have been on the rise since the city went to lockdown on Thursday. Local authorities reported 150 new local cases on Monday. That's more than 3 times the figure from 4 days prior. It brings the city's total confirmed infections to over 600. The new cases also accounted for most of China's 162 new domestic infections found on Monday, the highest national daily count since early 2020. Nearly 30 local officials were punished for failing to contain the virus. As of now, Xi'an authorities haven't reported any infections linked to the Omicron variant. Due to China's lack of transparency and history of underreporting pandemic data, NTT can't independently verify that information. But authorities in Xi'an are stepping up virus curbs anyway. Since last week, Xi'an residents haven't been allowed to leave the city or even their communities apart from special cases. Just one person from each household was permitted to go outside once every 2 days to buy household necessities. But even that's been halted by local authorities as of Monday. What's more, no vehicles are allowed on the roads unless granted special permission starting Monday. The same day, the city also launched the 4th round of its mass virus testing campaign. Officials warned that anyone flouting rules on travel and testing could face detention and fines, but told residents there's no need to panic. That attempt at reassurance seems to have missed the mark. The strict lockdown measures have set off panic buying and other forms of chaos across the city.
No one was prepared. The city was suddenly shut down in the middle of the night. We have no food storage. Then the food prices tripled, skyrocketed, and it was impossible to buy anything. Now everyone is panicking. What will we do?
A video surfaced online showing the scene in one community grocery store. A child was reportedly left unattended in the crowd of shoppers. One man was seen holding up the child and asking around for his parents. And in another video, a fight broke out in a virus testing site. A local resident reportedly argued with health workers, sparking a physical altercation soon after. Xi'an's strict lockdown remains, though over 95% of its population is already vaccinated. Restrictions there are some of the harshest since China's early lockdown in Wuhan. That's where the CCP virus, which causes COVID-19, was first detected in 2019. At that time, life in Wuhan came to a standstill. Now, residents in Xi'an appear to be facing the same fate.
While experiencing harsh lockdowns over the CCP virus, another virus is now reportedly plaguing the Chinese city of Xi'an. Interviewees close to the matter suggest the real number of patients may be much larger than officially reported.
COVID-19, caused by the CCP virus, is not the only disease that's plaguing the city of Xi'an in northwestern China. There's reportedly an outbreak of epidemic hemorrhagic fever, an infectious disease that can cause severe, life-threatening illness. China's state-run media reported multiple cases, but residents say a lot more were killed. And all designated clinics for treating epidemic hemorrhagic fever are packed with patients. According to the CDC, the disease is caused by a hantavirus, which is carried and transmitted by rodents. Symptoms include high fever, cough, shortness of breath, and abdominal or back pain. Internet users in China say there's an unusually large number of mice in farmers' strawberry greenhouses. There are so many that even some local government clerks are required to go to catch them during work hours. The Epoch Times spoke to the son of a patient who's contracted epidemic hemorrhagic fever in Xi'an. For safety reasons, we've distorted his voice and only identified him by his last name. Mr. Chen's father began to show symptoms of a high fever in mid-December and was diagnosed shortly after. Mr. Chen said he saw many patients in the hospital.
目前我了解到的就是这一个 ICU 里边至少10个人。 全部是出行的，男的女的都有，20多岁的也有，40多岁的也有。
He says the ICU at another local hospital is full. Patients now have to be taken to the emergency room before they can be hospitalized.
A sudden change to China's virus control policy sent a Shanghai-bound flight soaring back towards Seattle in midair. Let's take a look.
Delta Airlines stopped a flight to Shanghai midair and returned it back to Seattle last week. That's after the Shanghai airport suddenly changed its pandemic requirements. The Chinese regime's consulate in San Francisco has protested the airline's decision. But Delta said in a statement that the new mandates at Shanghai International Airport, quote, require significantly extended ground time and are not operationally viable for Delta. An insider told the Chinese edition of the Epoch Times that the new measures require foreign flight crews to quarantine for up to 2 weeks in China, and that Delta only learned about the new measures after takeoff. The person requested anonymity because he's not authorized by the company to speak. The incident put some of the passengers in limbo, most of whom are Chinese. Many of them are Chinese students who finished their studies in the U.S. Some of their student visas are expiring, and being stranded in Seattle may cause some visa troubles. The incident is not a single case. 2 Taiwanese airlines recently cut down the number of flights to Shanghai. One of them is suspending such flights until February. They say it's because it will take longer to comply with pandemic requirements in Shanghai. China is dealing with new virus outbreaks in the country. The regime has put in place draconian pandemic measures lately, including locking down a city of 13 million people.
Some kindergartners and school children in China were banned from celebrating Christmas this year. An announcement has been circulating in South China's Guangxi province. A county-level education bureau is ordering local kindergartens, elementary schools, and middle schools to boycott Christmas. The notice said the Education Bureau is prohibiting teachers and students from celebrating any Western holidays. In the document, the bureau included the phone number of the local public security bureau. They asked people to report any violations. Staff from the bureau later confirmed the authenticity of the document. While Christmas is banned, some in China turn to celebrate former communist leader Mao Zedong's birthday, which is December 26th. China's leading chipmaker Luxon Technology is drawing attention online with an announcement. The company proclaimed that December 26th is their festival of Mao's birthday, or People's Festival, and the company gave employees a day off. A Chinese-American pastor commented on the contrast to U.S. outlet Radio Free Asia. He says the way Christmas and Mao's birthday are treated in China reflects the CCP's brainwashing, and that it gives political opportunists a chance to show their allegiance. Chinese tech giant Baidu is going to lay off over 100 employees from its gaming unit. This is according to the South China Morning Post, citing people close to the matter. The sources said Baidu announced the decision to some workers last week, but it's unclear about the exact number of workers to be laid off. Baidu is reportedly trying to minimize its losses amid Beijing's clampdown on the tech sector. The company's financial report from last month shows that it suffered a net loss of over $2.5 billion in the last quarter. Just as Baidu decided to get more involved in the gaming business, Beijing launched a campaign to crack down on video games. Earlier this year, Chinese state media called video games spiritual opium. Then the regime banned minors from playing more than 3 hours of online games per week. Baidu will not only shrink its own game development team, but also stop providing services to third-party games. Beijing continues to clamp down on the tech sector. Most Chinese internet giants are trimming their payroll recently. They include TikTok's owner ByteDance, Baidu's video streaming platform Iqiyi, and popular video sharing app Kuaishou. The most recent case is Mogul Inc., an e-commerce platform focusing on fashion products. According to Chinese media, the company plans to lay off 80% of its tech department and around 30% of its total workforce. In addition to standard mortgages and auto loans, a new type of credit is emerging inside China. Baby loans, known as marriage and birth consumer loans. Northeast China's Jilin province is offering up bank loans of up to $30,000, but only for married couples if they have kids. That's according to an official blueprint on policies to promote population growth. Discounted interest rates are also offered based on the number of children a couple has. What's more certain, small businesses set up by couples with 2 or 3 children will also enjoy exemptions and tax cuts. As of now, there is no information on how officials will manage to financially back these loans. The loans have since attracted controversy on Chinese social media platform Weibo. One person pointed out that parents who need a loan to raise children wouldn't want them without the extra money, adding it's not a good thing to increase their financial burden. China's demographic issue are particularly evident in the 3 northeastern provinces of Jilin, Liaoning, and Heilongjiang. The new loan type comes on the heels of China's slowest population growth report since the 1950s. The staggering statistic boosts fear that China's workforce will age too quickly to replenish itself. It also heaps criticism onto the ruling Communist Party over its birth control policies, including the famed one-child policy, in play from 1980 to 2015. This August, the party endorsed a 3-child policy, but China's birth rate slump persisted anyway. What exactly makes birth rates so important for an economy like China's? According to experts, the country is not the first to experience the demographic change as the world's most populous nation. But its economy largely relies on domestic consumption and productivity. Beijing already plans to raise China's retirement age. Last year, China had a fertility rate of about 1.3 children per woman, on par with graying societies like Japan and Italy. Now we look to the Middle East. Saudi Arabia is reportedly making its own missiles with a little help from China, the kind of missiles that can deliver nuclear weapons. That's according to a report from CNN. The move could make it harder for the U.S. to constrain Iran's nuclear ambitions. Washington is looking to revive a deal to make Iran limit its nuclear weapons development. But Iran remains a top rival of Saudi Arabia's. And if Saudi Arabia is developing its own missiles, Iran may not want to be left behind. Saudi Arabia is a key U.S. ally in the region. It's one of America's top oil sources and also remains one of the U.S.'s largest trading partners in the region. Saudi Arabia has imported missiles from China before. The country didn't have the ability to create them at the time. At the same time, the U.S. has refused to sell ballistic missiles to Saudi Arabia for years. That's over concerns of nuclear proliferation. But now satellite images show Saudi Arabia is making its own missiles. A military expert told CNN that this burn pit is a key piece of proof, as sites like this are essential for missile production. That's because the manufacturing process creates leftover material that can be explosive, so facilities need a burn pit like this one to burn it off. And satellite images from late October show this burn pit is in full operation, from pre-burn to post-burn and post-burn cleanup. China helped Saudi Arabia to build this disposal site, but it's unclear if the missiles are of Chinese design. Saudi Arabia has also turned to other countries to develop the weapons. When asked if Saudi Arabia imported missile technology from China, Beijing said the two countries are strategic partners and have maintained cooperation in all fields, including military trade. NTD reached out to the Saudi embassy for comment, but did not receive a response before airtime. The 2022 Beijing Olympics won't be welcoming official Japanese representation. A Japanese spokeswoman announced the news just a day before Christmas. But the country isn't calling the move a boycott. NTD's Don Ma has more.
Japan will not send a government delegation to the Beijing Winter Olympics next year. A government spokesman said last Friday that the decision is due to the human rights situation in China.
There are no plans to dispatch a government delegation. Japan believes that it is important for China to guarantee the universal values of freedom, respect for basic human rights, and the rule of law, which are universal values in the international community.
Instead of government officials, Japan will send people with direct ties to the Games, such as the chief of the Japanese Olympic Committee. But Japan stopped short of calling the move a diplomatic boycott.
The Japanese government's response to the Beijing Winter Games was decided on its own, taking these points into consideration. The government of Japan is not considering using a specific name for attendance from Japan.
Japan is a close ally of the United States. The country is concerned about what it perceives as growing threats from China. But it's also economically reliant on its neighbor, both as a manufacturing hub and as a customer for its vehicles and other goods. The United States was first to announce a diplomatic boycott of the Beijing Winter Olympics. It came in protest of the Chinese regime's human rights violations. The UK, Australia, Canada, Lithuania, and New Zealand have also since joined the movement. Though all the countries taking part in the diplomatic boycott will still allow their athletes to compete in the Games. Don Ma, NTD News.
Back in North America, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says like-minded countries should form a united front against the Chinese regime. He explained that so China can't divide them one against the other. In an interview with Canadian outlet Global News, Trudeau said Beijing has been pitting democracies against one another to see them compete for access to China's market.
Well, we've been competing, and China has been, from time to time, very cleverly playing us off each other in a open market competitive way.
Trudeau also gave an example, saying we're trying to see how could we get better access for Canadian beef than Australian beef to this country or that market. He stated the world's democracies must do a better job of working together and standing strong. Trudeau reiterated that Canada will continue to challenge China on issues including human rights and democracy in Hong Kong. News on the Olympics front from the Korean Peninsula. The South Korean government says it's not considering a boycott of the Beijing Winter Olympics. The country's vice foreign minister explained South Korea hopes the Games will be successful. He made the comment during a virtual meeting with China's vice foreign minister. This senior-level strategic dialogue marked South Korea's first with China in more than 4 years. The talks also touched on North Korea. South Korea voiced hope that China would help Seoul by bringing Pyongyang back into denuclearization talks. The meeting with China plus the denial of an Olympic boycott come as South Korea faces an increasingly tricky balancing act between relations with China and the U.S. Washington remains a major ally to South Korea. At the same time, the U.S. is rallying partners and allies to counter China through a boycott of the Winter Games. But Seoul may be looking to gain China's favor. Earlier this month, Seoul rescinded an invitation it had given to a senior Taiwanese official to take part in the South Korean forum. The Taiwanese Foreign Ministry called the move rude, as the cancellation was given on the same day as the forum. And that's it for today's China in Focus. Thanks for tuning in. See you tomorrow.